There's a comment that came through, and I want to focus on this. This comes from Comedy Star TV, who says, and I quote, I don't know why Terry keeps saying Nico Williams to Arsenal. It isn't happening as he's signed a new deal. Well, the reason that I'm talking about it is the same. I never really quite understand these comments, because sometimes I do an opinion piece where I'll give an opinion. Like about 2 weeks ago, I did a video where I sort of said Arsenal should sign Rafinha, and I was very clear about that. But last night, David Ornstein spoke about how he's your main target, but everybody wants him and he could be quite expensive. The reason that I'm talking about it is there is also an additional story today, and I'm going to read this to you from Miguel Delaney, who says Nico Williams is Arsenal's preferred target for a wide player in the last week of the transfer window. He says, however, the current feeling is that he doesn't want to leave Atletico Bilbao this summer, with his preference being to play in Spain. Arsenal could switch strategy if they cannot sign William this window, instead seeking a Leandro Trossard style purchase. So I am not sitting here. The title doesn't say that the deal's imminent. The title doesn't say that it's close. We're talking about the Nico Williams to Arsenal deal. It's now been credibly reported by David Ornstein and by Miguel Delaney that he is Arsenal's number one target, that they are going to make an attempt to try and sign him in this last week. Now, that attempt may get pushed back by Fabrizio, who will say no official bid has been made, but they're not going to make an official bid until the player agrees to join. But I trust Miguel Delaney and I trust David Ornstein enough to know that Arsenal are looking to make a move in this last week for him. I agree with you that I don't think it's going to happen, but Arsenal, the news is there. We are here to discuss the news, whether or not we think it's going to happen. What I would say would be really wrong of a YouTube channel would be, do you know what, guys? We're not discussing any stories, any articles ever on the Football Terrace that I, Terry Flewers, don't think will happen or are true. We're not discussing them ever again. That would be crazy, brother. So thank you for the comment, but that's why it's being discussed, because it is genuine trending news here, which has been pushed out by a number of our journalists, and we want to get the panel's take and your take. Can it happen? If it can't, who should they go for? Why have they left it so late? There's so much here for fans to digest. So that is why we're talking about it, my friend. So on that news, Arsenal potentially looking this week to try and sign Nico Williams. Before we ask, can they get it done, Lawless? And whether you think they can or can't, why do you believe they've left it so late in the window to make this attempt to sign him?
I think it comes down to finances. I think they've been trying to move players on before they make these big signings. Like it's been reported, Eddie Nketiah is close to going for Eddie Nketiah is close to going for 30 million to Forest, which I think is a big boost to their finances if they get that over the line, which will go towards this signing. So I reckon that's probably why they've left it late. And yeah, like whether they can get it done, I know he's signed a new deal. That doesn't always mean that you can't sign the player. I do think it's unlikely, but it's not impossible. If they stump up the money, that's too hard for Barca to refuse. Apparently, Barcelona still need to sell players, right? That's what
they haven't registered. They haven't registered Dani Almo.
Yeah, so they're in a desperate situation. So if they make a deal that's too good for Barcelona to turn down, and then they can register Almo, then with the state they're in, it is possible. I think it's going to take a big chunk of change, and it's not going to be an easy deal to do. That's for sure.
And when did he sign a new deal? Because I've just Googled his new deal. But in July, they said they're preparing a new offer for him. I'm reading a story here that he signed a new deal. This is in the New York Times. He signed a new deal last December, but I'm not seeing any confirmation that he signed a new deal this summer. There is an article that says Athletic Club prepare a new deal for him, but I've not seen any articles or any pictures confirming he signed another new deal this summer. So I'm just throwing that out there. What do you think, Staffy? Is it right they've left it this late, Arsenal, and given themselves just a week to get this over the line, or is that part of the strategy to not make it a long, drawn-out saga and maybe just kind of trying to rock the boat at the last minute?
Well, first of all, did he get a new deal or not? Because I know they gave him the number 10 jersey. I heard stuff about. I thought he did sign either an extension or got a new deal. So can we clarify that first before I?
Some people are. Someone's saying here they just gave him the number 10 shirt. It wasn't a new deal.
That I saw, yeah. So I don't know if he actually signed. If he signed a new contract, then I'll be shocked if he left less than a month
Yeah.
after.
Well,
It would make no sense.
Ornstein would have mentioned that. He didn't. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why, yeah.
They
Wait, so
probably
he said he's
proposed a new
staying
big
at
contract.
Bilbao. He's not moving to Bar. He's staying at his
Yeah.
current club. So, but
Yes.
I thought he wanted to go to. So the Barca thing's not happening.
Yeah. But listen, Barcelona, bro. The less I speak about that club, the better, bro. I'm gonna be very honest, because I witnessed that club at their peak, and just what they've become right now is an absolute joke. Every year we have to deal with this whole they're in for everyone thing, but they can't pay them. I'm so sick of them.
Yeah.
These players need to stop wanting to go to Barca because they can't pay you wages. There's
Yeah, he
no
was
point of you
desperate to go
wanting to
there.
go to Barcelona if you can't. I'd rather go to West Ham if they're gonna pay me my money than to go to Barcelona and just go sue them. We just saw what happened with Gundogan. Like, genuinely, Nico Williams, Danny Olmo, everyone who wants to play for Barca, you generally have to give it up because that club can generally not pay anyone any money. You're gonna be filing lawsuits 24/7. But anyways, back to Nico Williams. I don't know, as I said, if he got offered a new contract or not. But if he didn't sign a new contract, 100%, I think he should go to Arsenal, and I'll give you why. Actually, let me rephrase what I just said. 100% Arsenal should sign him, and I'll tell you why. I'm happy that this is finally getting addressed because I think it was last week. Did I say it here? I might have said it here. I said, why do we talk about Arsenal needing a striker and we don't talk about them needing a left winger? I'm gonna be really honest with you. I feel like Havertz gets more hate than Martinelli, and Martinelli deserves the hate more. I'm gonna be very honest with you. Havertz had a better season than Martinelli last season, and no one talks about him. I think it's because they have this love affair with him, because him, Saka, Smith Rowe, when they all came up under Unai Emery, they all look at these kids and they're like, we've had them all come up together. And in English football, I'm not even English, and we all have fetish with these players that come up from our academy. Relax. Don't do that. I'm talking about our academy players, like we do with Mainu, like we do with Rashford. We love our academy players, okay? Martinelli is not necessarily an academy player but I think they signed him at 16 or 17. The point is, he gets more leeway than Havertz, and Havertz has been better than him. And I don't know why it doesn't get talked about. Why does no one talk about, hey, Martinelli has not been good enough. We need to replace him. I understand they have Trossard, but I'm not gonna lie, Trossard is not a starting left winger. I think the way that he plays, because he's not really that physical, Arteta struggles to put him in a team that starts in game and game out. But he will use him occasionally in the starting lineup. He'll use him on the left. He'll use him as a false nine. Hell, he'll even use him in the middle. He's cool with him. But you need a starter in that left wing that is as good as Saka is on the right wing, if not better. And Nico Williams is that. If you have a right-hand side that's dominant with Saka, and then you bring in Nico Williams, who's going to dominate that left-hand side, and then you have the likes of Trossard or whoever coming off the bench, that is a much better team, in my opinion, than all of them saying, let's get an Ivan Toney, let's get this. Yeah, maybe an Ivan Toney would be good in this team, don't get me wrong. But I don't like how Havertz, and I don't even like Havertz like that, but I don't like how Havertz gets a lot of hate and no one speaks about Martinelli. Why does Martinelli get no talk at all? All this guy does is kick and run, never picks up his head. The way that he plays is so one-dimensional that when it doesn't work, all he does is he runs into the byline, the ball rolls out, and there you go. That's a turnover. Why does no one talk about Martinelli? It never makes sense to me.
I think they believe that he can, it was a one-season blip. I think they believe he'll come good this season.
I can counter that, Lawless. Why can't you say the season before it when he did well? Why can't you say that was a blip? Because I used to do that with Rashford. When I used to debate my fan base on why Rashford is good or not, they used to say, but he scored 30 goals in a season, had 40 GA. I was like, well, the one before he had 5. So which one is actually the fluke? Is it the good one or is it the bad one? That's the same thing you can say to Martinelli. I feel like Martinelli has reached a point where I think this Arsenal team has outgrew him. And that's when you raise your floor. Arteta over the last 5 years has done a very good job raising I meant to say it's time to raise the ceiling when it comes to Martinelli. Because Arteta over the past 5 years, he was able to raise the floor of this team. And you can see that the technical floor, physical floor, everything has risen. That's why in the last 2 years, they competed for the league. But when you become stagnant and 2 seasons in a row, you can't win the league and you finish second, then that's where you go for ceiling raises. How do we become much better? And then you go for the positions that you're already okay at and you want to raise it to the next level. And I think going from Martinelli to Nico Williams is going to the next level. And no one talks about it. It's just like it's easy to hate on Havertz.
Yeah.
And this is not me digging out anyone. It's much easier to hate on Havertz because of his history, because he came from Chelsea, because he was
Yeah.
from your rival, and because the whole idea of he was supposed to play in the midfield, but he's a striker. It's much easier to talk about him than to talk about Martinelli, and I don't like that.
I get where you're coming from. I think it's also part of Martinelli is part of a group of players that are still connected to the dying embers of the player FC phase that Arsenal went through when they were average to poor team.
I agree.
And whenever a team is average to poor, I think fan bases will clamber more to the player than they do the team and everything else. I think it's quite natural and normal. But you only normally notice it when a team is really good like Arsenal and then it falls away and then it comes back. Man United, we'll see the same thing at Man United if we become a very, very good team again. I do agree, though, that they've got to raise the floor on Martinelli if it's indeed possible. I think Martinelli is a good player. I think he'll score more this year. I think he'll assist more this year. I think there's talent there. But Nico Williams is a level, or maybe even 2 levels above him. I don't know whether Arsenal can get this over the line. You know, when I read the articles and I read the snippets that have come out from Delaney and from Ornstein, they've sort of played it down. But they have mentioned it. And it's typically speaking, when Ornstein starts talking about a transfer, it always gives me an inkling that something may happen, whether it completes or whether there's a bid. 9 times out of 10, he doesn't mention something that doesn't have some credibility to it. I don't know what their strategy would be for waiting. I think money could play a big part in that. Maybe they felt that if they went in too early, maybe 2 other teams would kind of rear their heads. Maybe they had this view of, if anybody else gets really close to signing him, we'll step in. But if nobody does, we'll leave it really late and try and strike. Maybe that's their tactic. I don't know what it is. But I kind of feel like they should have got this done a lot sooner. If they end up getting Nico Williams, for me, it's, why didn't you get him in 6-7 weeks ago? Get him into pre-season. I know he wouldn't have played much pre-season because, of course, he won the Euros with Spain. So there is that element. But this would be, if Arsenal could pull this off, it's a reaction and a very, very good one to Man City bringing back Gundogan. I think that we've spoken all summer about if they don't add anybody else, City, Arsenal may find themselves as marginal favourites if they landed a good attacker after Moreno. With Gundogan coming back, who can cover for Rodri, who can also play as a false 9, who has clutch goals in him, who I don't think has lost a yard. I don't think has lost a yard of himself being away for the last year. He may end up coming back more refreshed because he hasn't been at the sort of Premier League pace and power. The league is amazingly technical, a brilliant league, but we've heard anecdotally from many players that have played there and in the Premier League is just a little bit more physical. So that might actually help him in that regard. Arsenal have got to react, and I felt that all week, just from an outsider looking in. And if they throw Nico Williams into the mix, along with Moreno, along with Calafiori, it becomes a really interesting debate around who wins the league. And I think for all of us, just as spectators of the Premier League, it makes everything more exciting. It puts more pressure on Arsenal to win it because suddenly you've added someone of that quality. And I also think Nico Williams, if they were able to pull this off, would be an amazing moment for Arsenal. I think it would mark a step change in them, as they're already a giant club, but it marks a step change in maybe in terms of them going towards being a gargantuan club, a Champions League winning club. Yes, they signed Thierry Henry, but you've got to remember when they signed him. I can't remember the last star they bought. Maybe it was Bergkamp in the 90s, who genuinely was an absolute superstar when he came into the football club. Arsenal fans remind me, I'm not a supporter of a football club. I don't remember all your transfers as deeply as you will. But if they're able to do this, and I'm not sure they can, but if they're able to do this, this would be a very, very seismic deal for them indeed. And yeah, look, the cat would certainly be thrown amongst the pigeons if that was the case. So what a deal that could potentially be. And Matt, obviously, he wants to see that happen. And who are they thrown in? Ozil, yeah, you could throw Ozil in. But
Ozil
you know
and
what?
Sanchez, these were big. They were big signings.
They were big names. But do you know why I'm going to say they're different? Real Madrid wanted rid of Ozil, as an example. Barcelona wanted rid of Alexis Sanchez. I'm not saying they weren't good players, but this is Nico Williams, who's wanted by those big clubs. You're getting him instead. This is like you signing Ozil when Real Madrid wanted him. This is like you signing Alexis Sanchez before Barcelona got him. Not they've done 2, 3, 4, 5 years there and they want to move on and they've let a star go. This is barring Real Madrid, the world and his dog want Nico Williams. The world and his dog want him. If Arsenal were the team to get him, I don't remember the last time Arsenal did that. And that's me being a non-Arsenal fan. Arsenal fans could probably remember. And you've got to get the context right. Don't say Aubameyang either, because Aubameyang wasn't this
To be
young.
fair, Ozil wanted to stay.
He wanted to,
Madrid wanted him to stay. He's the one that wanted to leave.
Okay,
so
okay. Right, if I got the,
he wanted to leave because I think that was the summer they signed James Rodriguez.
So I get that. I get that. But yes, but my perspective is it's not like Real Madrid want him and Arsenal have got him instead. That scenario is different. So yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting one for me. But viewers, give us your thoughts, give us your feelings in the comment section below. You could throw Declan Rice into that mix. But I feel like there is something beautiful about stopping a player going to Barca or Real Madrid, because especially if it's an English player, most of our players don't desire to play there. Most international-born players, when they're honest, Barca and Real Madrid are the pinnacle for them. So if you're able to stop somebody going there, and by the way, Gooners, I'm praising your club here. Some of you are like pushing back. It's genuine praise. It's Miguel Delaney, Terry. Come on. So again, why are you ignoring that David Ornstein has also spoken about this as well? Duncan Castles has also spoken about this as well. Narrowing it down to none of us have said it's happening. We're just going on the fact there's 3 different reports stating that he's Arsenal's #1 target still now, and that he is the main guy they want in this last week as they attempt to sign a winger. If they can't get him, they're going to go for other options. Why can't we genuinely, Jack, answer me this question? Why is every other YouTube channel allowed to talk about this, but the Football Terrace can't? Please tell me. Please make me understand what's wrong with us discussing what these journalists have put out there. Please educate me on that. Speaking of Arsenal.